Meta Perspective Podcast.
Hello and welcome to Meta Perspective Podcast. We're your hosts, Alex,
Evan,
and the girl. This is the show we talk about deep and interesting topics and try to get the heart of the idea through different perspectives.
But if you are joining us for the first time, please give the video a like and the channel a follow, because we plan to do random giveaways and things like that in the future, so it doesn't hurt to stay active.
Speaking of staying active, don't forget to jump in that chat, because we want to hear what you have to say along with us. We want to hear about future topic ideas you may have, but more importantly, we want to know your perspective, because Meta Perspective Podcast is not meta without your perspective.
But seriously, guys, we got the chat pulled up here so we can see and respond to what you say throughout the show. It'll help drive our conversation live, which we do every Wednesday. But if you're watching this in post, if it's uploaded, leave a comment. We'll respond. And yeah, maybe you can join us live one night and share your own thoughts, because it's all anonymous. And yeah, as we said, it's not meta without your perspective. So
It's good stuff.
we appreciate you guys chiming in, and we can and would love your support. We're trying to grow this channel. We're thinking about, maybe putting some clips out there, things like that. So definitely stay with us.
Big things coming.
For tonight, so we've been doing this new series thing the past couple months. I'd say the past 2 months we've done 2 series so far. We did a whole series on the mind, and then we did a second series on the future. They're like multi-part series, probably like 4 or 5 episodes. So I would suggest you check those out. But tonight we are actually continuing the start of our new series about the spirit and spirituality. Everything from religion to kind of like metaphysics and pseudoscience, all that stuff. We're talking about it on this series, second episode. And the last episode, we kind of gave an overview of the type of things we talked about. So I suggest that you look at that as well. And tonight we're going to kind of go on one specific topic. Well, we'll kind of bounce around maybe, but tonight we've chosen to talk about the universal consciousness. It's something that most people have heard of, and it definitely fits with the spirituality aspect, and we're going to get deep with it. That's what we do. So we do here on the show.
Hell yeah.
Let me get a little hydro quench
We get down to the bottom of it.
hydro quintessentials. Okay, so the universal consciousness.
There we go.
So this is kind of,
Now we're talking.
this is something that transcends the idea of religion or like kind of the hippie spirituality. It kind of goes across all of them, really. It kind of speaks to the fundamental core of spirituality, what we're talking about, things that aren't measurable with science necessarily, but we've all had that feeling where, there's a feeling in the room, or you're thinking about a certain thing, and then your friend calls you and asks you about that thing. There's something that connects us. You could say telepathically. You could maybe say, like relativity, quantum physics kind of stuff, like the whole idea of the consciousness and the observer kind of
Everything is everything.
right. This soup of energy and waves and all that, and it's essentially, as far as I've observed, it's all mostly true. It's just not the type of thing that's provable. But there's the anecdotal evidence out there, and I think we can all attest to that. The phenomenons that we experience, where 2 people share the same thought or the same experience, can kind of be replayed in a way where it's it's shared. It's not just you observing this kind of thing. It's that there's a relationship outside of your one mind to something else. And that something else, there's multiple ways you could view a consciousness outside of yourself. One, you could assume that every single living thing has its own consciousness, which it's pretty safe to assume that is true. Even though it's not part of yours, there's nowhere for you to test, or truly know whether I'm speaking to you right now or all of your friends and family are real. These are all things that you could, when you kind of get to the philosophical aspect of it, you can think about all this and like, okay, what is my experience as a conscious being in this world interacting with other conscious beings? I know that I can influence the material world kind of at my will, not 100% in control, but there's an element of that I can see and that is, anecdotally measurable in my experiences in life. But then you think about what else is, a friend or someone talking to you on a podcast or something that you relate to, something that you don't relate to. Things that kind of speak to us in different ways where we either 100% like, oh, I've thought that before, this is kind of my thing, or like, you can kind of, maybe something that's totally foreign. It makes no sense. It's kind of like, why would anyone think that, So it's hard to bridge that gap that we're all connected when there's so much variation in the conscious experience. But as we said in the beginning, there are those rare phenomenons where we tap into something external, and it's not coming from a specific person or an experience. It's not observably there where we can kind of chalk it off. Oh yeah, well, I was talking to that guy earlier. He said something, and that's why I'm thinking about this now. It's like, okay, well, there are these supernatural-like events, and that is the idea of the universal consciousness, is that there's something outside of our own consciousness that's not really any one influence in our life that we could point to. It's something that is somehow not wholesome, but overarching. It's something that is wholly there. That's
all encompassing.
All encompassing. Maybe that's what I'm looking for. But it's something that you kind of, it's like not like a primal realization. It's something outside of that. Like, because the primal side is like our evil, it's monkeys in the jungle.
It's a truth. It's the truth. It's a foundational understanding that this connects with everything else. It's not like me where, in high school I could be thinking of this, but that doesn't work with everything else, but that's okay because that's me. It's an experience where you realize, despite how I view everything, there is a way for me to see things that all kind of bridges and gaps together. And within that experience, you're kind of like, everybody else kind of sees all the stuff the same. The only difference is our experiences either, it really comes down to truth versus lie. A lot of people, if you believe in a different way of things than how they inherently are, now you're kind of an individual, and everybody kind of separates through those things while nobody's right. There's an experience you can have that says, I'm not sure what this is, but I know it's right.
Yeah.
Despite my own understanding of what I believed, I can say that, like, the way I could see this is kind of that universal truth, that thing that aligns all of us, like not just like the physical, how we all follow the same kind of construction for the most part. We follow the same properties and laws of this physical universe, but it's almost like our mind, our morals, ethics, the way we view things and everything, the way it's framed, has that same kind of barrier. Or,
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can make GMO foods, but we don't know what ingesting food that's been genetically modified does to us over time, because it's like you're affecting the genes. This isn't a natural thing. My body might say you're really hungry for tomatoes, but if it's genetically modified, I mean, there's other stuff I'm getting to that my body didn't say it needs. You could say that's splitting hairs, but it's like over time, what do those things do? Well, we don't know, but inherently I know that a regular tomato's better.
Yeah.
It's like it's a truth. Like whatever grows out of the ground, that's what I should eat. We don't need to do anything to it, and anything else we do to it can't improve it.
Right, and I think that's where a lot of these judgments that individual people have come from. It's this level of truth or knowledge or really wisdom, and as we kind of talked about earlier, like everybody's kind of had a feeling that they can't really explain. It's not about what made you decide to go this way home instead of that way home. It's like it's something that kind of gets to you, and all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I feel like I need to go this way today. And it's like you find out that there was someone took out a bridge or something.
It's that feeling you don't argue with.
Right. It's like your gut or something. It's like
you don't stop and go, why would I go that way? You're just like, I think I should.
Yeah, something's telling me to go this way, so I'm not going to not listen to that. We've all kind of had that experience. And
which is a fascinating point, because if you're walking a certain way, and I've had these experiences where something horrific would happen, like right after I left, and I just have this feeling, and it's like I have no context, nothing really to build off of.
Yeah.
But me needing to leave is a fact. There's not wiggle room. This has to happen. I have to go.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but like even without the context, I know where this is going. It's like that universe, like you said, that connection where it's like maybe I'm picking up from the person I met earlier, and I'm knowing something bad's going down, even though I'm not there. Like I don't know, but it does seem to be that.
And I was trying to it's hard to separate, because there is psychological things you can pick up about a situation that would kind of inform your subconscious. Like if you're in a social situation, it's a lot more realistic to assume that your brain is doing that analysis for you, and then your gut is actually just the summation of the analysis. But when it's something like, which way do I go home today? And you just get something that's not in your observable, path. It's not something that you assessed subconsciously and then came to a gut level decision on. This is stuff that's like, it comes from somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying that.
No, exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if the example
there is a difference
was that or not, but there's an observable difference between the two, and they're both real, but like there's something that gives us that inspiration, that suggestion, that it comes out of nowhere, and then you find out later that I've done the opposite. I've been like, I shouldn't do this. And then I do it, and then it's bad, and I'm like, oh, well, I knew it. Too late now. But I think everybody has at least one example of you listened to your gut and actually worked out because something bad didn't happen, and you can kind of point to that as like, where did that come from? Who was speaking to me? Maybe who's not the right.
What gave me that context,
right,
for my gut to deliver this message of like fact? Gut instincts aren't like, I got a feeling I should. It's like, no, I got a feeling I need to go that way.
Yeah,
it's a serious feeling. It's sure. It's as sure as any feeling you've ever felt. And when it's just like brought upon you, you're like, oh, I don't have any context. I don't know why, but I'm going to listen to this because I'm afraid not to, because of how prominent it is.
And it's something that we talked about in the last episode as we were kind of setting up this whole spiritual series, is the idea that, some of this knowledge, some of this ancient wisdom and understanding is already baked into all of us. Like we didn't need to research the idea of, gravity or all these physics based laws of motion and all these things, even like up to like Einstein's relativity and things like that. These aren't things that we had to necessarily find out for ourselves. But when we hear them from somebody else, or when we kind of come to the same conclusions and then later learn that that is actually a proven thing, it's like it kind of points to the idea that that there's an inherent wisdom or understanding about our reality and about the world and the universe and how it works, and something outside of ourselves that's kind of ancient at the same time, like way more. I tried to say primal earlier. I tried to say ancient, but it's like it's all of that. It's past, present, future. It's this knowing, and there's something in us that has already tapped into that. No matter who you are, you kind of have this wisdom, and like it has to come from somewhere, because there's too many examples of multiple people that have no interaction or different life situations with the same that come to the same conclusions. Or it's like, outside of the idea of aliens, there's a reason why everybody built pyramids. It's like there's something there that we all kind of can tap into, and it's where inspiration comes from. It's what connects us with other people. It's what drives us to expand and to learn and to like gain knowledge. It's getting closer and closer to that universal mind, or at least that's how I see it, and I explain that.
Yeah, it's like how people could be told things throughout time were like this, and then we learn in our lifetime that what we were taught in the history books was wrong on that. And it was wrong because of all the people who heard that and said, it's not right. How do you know that's not right? You have no context. You didn't grow up in those areas. You didn't grow up during that time. Like, you have no idea what it's like. There's so many factors. It's like, yeah, but something says that there's a universal truth to how things kind of are. And like the way things were doesn't change. Times change, but like the inherent like usness can't. There is a truth. So it's like something about this is just off. It's lacking something because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
While most people who go through school accept the lie and they're like, yeah, no, okay, I'll write it down. I got an A on the test. Like, that's the truth. And then you get older and you find out, oh, these people actually did their research. They went there. They invested their own money for certain scans and all this stuff, whatever. And then it comes back like, oh, this thing wasn't even from that time. It was from this time, and it wasn't used for this. And it's like everything changes about how you viewed that time in history. Not just that moment, but it's like, well, if that's what that really was, then
changes everything that you've ever known.
Yeah, and it's like just these little things where it's like, how can you hear something and like so many people are just like, nope, that's wrong. We'll figure it out. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
That you could tell people lies and people will dedicate their lives to be like, no, something in me says I can't rest until I prove that wrong. Mm-hmm. It's like,
no, this is the way it's always been and this is how it's always going to be. I'm dug in.
Yeah, it's just interesting how people do dedicate their own time to go after something without the context to say that there's another side to it at all.
Well, I think it's interesting too because, like for most of human history until the last, maybe the last half century, things were very mystical. Spiritual, it wouldn't be weird for a fortune teller or a psychic to have a shop on the main street of your small town or something like that. Like, these were things that were, kind of mystical and unproven. Like, even to this day, they still do dowsing, where people come out to your property and then they have these either sticks or metal rods, and then
I'll find the water boss.
And then but it fucking works. Like, that's one of the weird things that's just like, well, whatever. But
That's,
it's
that's
like
ancient.
but
Yeah.
that was like until like I'd say like
I tried that as a kid.
the early, maybe like the last 19th century. I think the Enlightenment era, a lot of these ideas, Isaac Newton, they're all coming up with explanations for the physical world. And I think that over the next, half to full century, people fully learn that. They learn that in school. They teach their kids that. It becomes kind of an endemic understanding of knowledge. And so some of that mystical element starts to fade away because now we know that, the apple falls from the tree because the two masses, the square distance and the relative like the relative mass between them, divided by two is the gravity. So that, the apple falls there, but the apple has gravity. It's like, okay, now I understand the universe. I can explain it all. So we kind of cast the mystical element to the side because we feel like if we haven't explained it yet, we will. And then that kind of evolved over the 19th century, even into the early 2000s. And there was this kind of, I would say, this overarching rejection of anything that was spiritual or religious based or any explanations about creation and all that were very rejected because we felt like now we can explain things. And if we can't explain it yet, then we will. But then I'd say over the last 10 to 20 years, the more advanced science has gotten, now we are starting to actually re-question the foundations. Now it's like even the idea of quantum physics and all this stuff where it's like, things can just teleport and energy can just vanish and reappear. That's not measurable. I don't know how to process that, but it's like the more advanced science is getting now we're actually getting back to this kind of unproven spiritual side. And then there's a lot there, like, telekinetics and psychic powers. And, we've done an episode on that. That's a whole nother thing than just like, how things really work, how our thoughts can influence the world. And that all is wrapped into the idea of that there's something outside of our own abilities and our own perceptions and our own conscious experience that is acting upon us that we can tap into, that everyone else can kind of tap into too. It's not like I'm having a connection with my universal consciousness and then you're having a connection with your universal consciousness and those things are different. No, we can both tap into the same thing at the same time or in past and future. It's all relative to the one thing.
Truth.
Well, like
The one thing that you can't say is corruptible. The one thing that is, it's a foundation. It's like the building block for anything else. It's like there's a truth out things are. You can manipulate the truth. You can pervert the truth. You can do all sorts of things. But like when you go back to the basics, it's like you can't disprove this stuff. This is how this is.
Yeah.
So if we're going to go from there, we have to keep going from, it's like
I think a fundamental truth, and I think that speaks to what we do on this show is that we tried any topic that we talk about, we try to distill the fundamental truths and try to, anything that could question those fundamental truths, we get rid of them until we have like a core. But like, yeah, it's fundamental truths that nobody can really. It's an unchallengeable phenomenon. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but
yeah.
that was like I'm trying to add to like, yeah, I
it's
agree.
like if I said like, I think I'm, the smartest man in the world. And I just believe that. I never researched anything, but I just believe like I'm the smartest man in the world. Like Einstein was smart, but I'm smarter. That could be true to me, but most people would argue, well, there has to be stuff in your head that, allows you to take that title. You gotta prove it. And I could say I don't have to prove it. Everything Einstein knew, Nikola Tesla, like we're all humans, all connected to the same thing. I'm just tapped into it better. I know it all, and I'm tapped into it better than them. We still have to prove it. Everybody would agree that you need to say something that aligns with something true.
Yeah.
For us to actually start giving that merit. So it doesn't matter what you believe. There is a truth that needs to be found. So either you find that truth in yourself and say, I think this about myself, but is it true? If I want to believe I'm this way, I need to figure out what that really is and be a true version of that so I can say that is what I am. I can't sit there and shave my head bald and be like, I have beautiful hair. If I want to have beautiful hair, I have to truly grow it out and then say, now I do have hair. Now what makes hair beautiful? I have to go through what it takes to make my hair beautiful. And then when people look, they'll say, hey, beautiful hair. Oh, then I've done it right. But if I go around and tell people I have beautiful hair and everybody's reaction in their head is, no, you don't. It's like, that's really, I mean, that's kind of, it's simple, but that's what it boils down to. When you hear stuff in the news, when you hear stuff in science, when you hear anything, you have to be like, is it true? Well, I don't know enough about science to know if it's true or not. Stay out of that lane, buddy. No, but it's like, ask questions. Try to figure, if you're going to choose to believe something, you have to have some place of belief to come from. Not even religious, but just some kind of inherent truth to say, if I accept this, does it corrupt the other stuff I know? Or am I just going to compartmentalize everything I learn into different things and just separate them all and not ever let any of these things connect? Most of this stuff, contradicts other things, I believe. But it's like half the stuff is true, half the stuff is false, but I believe it all. Yeah. It's like there has to be a part in you that siphons that out, or you might as well just go around saying you're the smartest man in the world because everything you believe must be true.
Well, that's another thing too. Like the people that you would consider throughout history to be the smartest men of their time, it's not, I'll phrase it this way. The smartest person in the world could be somebody with a photographic memory that could win Jeopardy every day, memorized all the facts, knows all human-produced knowledge on the planet. But everyone we associate with these smartest people are these innovator types, the people that took the knowledge that humans before them have given and offered, for learning, and they took that knowledge and they gathered inspiration from either from that knowledge or from somewhere else. And that's kind of this whole discussion, is that I believe that these people had inspiration outside of human knowledge. And then that's when they took it further. That's like your Teslas, your Isaac Newton,
a crossing road of knowledge where what you stumble upon isn't just one way of truth, it expands into all directions.
Right.
Kind of like how
learn enough to connect, you can always connect with the universal consciousness, but it's so vast, it's so knowledgeable, past, present, and future, that when you connect with it, it's only relative to your experience. So you can't just, not everybody just gets a download of all universal knowledge, the second that they touch connection with the universal consciousness. It's all relative to what you're doing or what your experience is or that situation and what you can really comprehend. So these people that, throughout the past, like these Teslas, these Einsteins, these Newtons, everyone in that boat is basically, they have used human knowledge and the people that came before them, which it's amazing that we can just, read this stuff and then know it. We didn't have to, like I was saying earlier, we didn't have to spend our whole lives proving it. We understand it. The world works in these very simple equations and we can comprehend, and then we can use it and apply it, and we can see that it's true. But these people that came up with that stuff, they had to take what human knowledge has given them and then take it further. And that's kind of like where I'm getting to, is that, creation, inspiration, even motivation, all these things that
Even character.
drive us to be better.
It's like
from some, we get it from somewhere else.
It's like one of the things that, like, to me makes me look at Einstein as a true intellectual is he wasn't like, I am the smartest man in the world. Like, everybody is telling me that I must be the smartest man in the world. No, somebody came to him, and anybody would say, for some reason, our gut says there's a truth, that if he says that, part of us wants to not believe it and go, part of us says, well, if you said you're the smartest, because of the arrogance in it, that in itself speaks to me that you're not. I don't know why that means you're not, but I can feel that that's not true.
Yeah.
You're lacking something that makes you truly intellectual. But they came to him, they asked him, they said, Einstein, what is it like being the smartest man in the world? And his response was, I don't know. Ask Nikola Tesla. He, even at his point, still understood that he had he had limitations, understood that there was stuff he didn't understand. Like, he was intellectual enough to harness what he was able to harness and know that there was so much more in abundance.
Yeah.
To say, I don't know, like Nikola Tesla knows more than I do. Like, I'm just figuring this out. But to everybody else, it's like, wow, but they're geniuses. But what it comes down to is these guys just got curious about the life they were brought into.
Right.
And most people aren't that curious about that.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what that is. Well, it's reality. Yeah, I got to go to school. No, it's reality. Yeah, I need to get a job. No, it's you're in this body.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's about, it's this height, this weight. No, like, you're not getting it. Like, what the fuck is this, man?
Right. Like the first people that came up that discovered cells and all that. Imagine how mind-blowing that would be if you looked at it under the microscope and you're like, we're made of fucking cells. Like
We're made of these little tiny things.
It's like
I thought it was just one big thing.
Yeah.
Not just one piece.
Well, yeah. And so I know that you have kind of explored kind of the psychology realm and pushed that further. Like I've tried to do all I can understanding the way the universe works and science. And it's like, there's something that drives us both. And it's not, at least for me, I know it's something that I kind of know.
That's the first thing is you do already know.
So it was given somewhere else. There was a taste. I got a taste of the knowledge and the place that ultimately I could potentially end up. And I was like, okay, a lot of things make sense to me, but I can't really comprehend it. I can't really explain it to myself or anyone else. Like, I need to figure out how everything works.
And that's the trick. You have to see what you saw, notice that truth, and just kind of accept certain baselines, and everything else just get pushed out. Basically, we're corrupted. So when we try to understand truth, we can't, because we're trying to understand it through a mind of lies. I can't see the truth in the world if there's a lot of parts of me that I'm not willing to see the truth of.
Yeah.
And I don't know that not looking and seeing this the right way is holding me back from that. And I don't know what the right way to see is. And I don't even know that I need to relook at that. I haven't thought about it in years. There's a lot of different levels to it. But it really does come down to just being like, okay, I can't figure it out. But I do know that I know it. You've experienced it. So even though you don't know what absolute truth is, you've had a glimpse of it.
Right.
That's all that matters. All that matters is you know it exists. So you say, okay, that's what I want. And then you'll fall into what is truth. And that's how you get truth. That's how you have a God experience, whatever you want to call it. That's how you kind of shed that old part of you, that part of that, like, more physically psychological, like, ego death.
Right.
Of being like, I'm going to fall into truth because it's a paradox of my lying self trying to find truth. I can't find truth. I'm full of lies. I need to let go and just accept truth. But this doesn't make sense. Then I'm going to look at it. Oh, this actually makes the most sense. I just immediately perceived it this way, but I'm going to welcome it anyway and really analyze it. Oh, this is true. Get rid of whatever that was trying to push that out.
Yeah.
And be like, no, that's not true. Nope, that's a trigger. You get away. This is truth. I mean, that's a huge part of it. For me, was realizing that, and that's part of the humble aspect, because, you go through levels where you're like, I am fucking smart. Like, I notice the patterns. I see the stuff.
Yeah.
Watch how fast you suddenly can't find the patterns anymore. How everything starts to get blurry. You start to fall back in your old ways. You can't try to do it. You can't take pride in it. It has to be a thing where there's all the parts of you that are like, gimme, gimme. Those are the parts that you have to let go, because it's kind of like the law of attraction. You want to be a millionaire. You have to believe that in a year you could have $1 million. Yeah, I could have all this stuff, all these things.
But
The
the hardest part,
excitement
is
that
believing it.
because the excitement you have for all of those things is weighed upon the fact that they're unobtainable. You have to understand those things are nothing and realize that it's as easy to get as anything else. The downside is when you get it, you realize, well, I'm not as excited as I would have been.
Right.
Yes, because the part of you that was excited, it's a paradox. The excited part was, I could never have it. That's why I want it.
Right.
Well, then you'll never have it.
It's not. Yeah. That's
You have
not
to
the
want
way
it
that-
because you already know you can have it. And then the excitement dies because suddenly you're like, yeah, I could have it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I have it now. That's cool. But it's like, that's kind of the paradox. It's
Right.
like, I want to understand everything about truth in this reality. It's like, you can't want to know. You have to need to understand.
And that's an
There's like that difference of that personal aspect coming in.
That's an interesting part of how things tend or seem to work, either with the universal consciousness or quantum observation. Just this whole experience of consciousness is that sometimes, depending on the situation, like, I won't say it every time, because sometimes
You're a computer.
I
You're a
was gonna-
computer that knows how to process everything perfectly. Yet you've been given so many viruses. You dedicate your life trying to figure out how to get rid of the viruses.
Well, exactly. Well,
But
okay,
by default,
yeah.
you know that you already know all the stuff.
And maybe you don't have to
so with these viruses, trying to get these downloads is almost impossible. So it creates this paradox of, I have to do this, but you realize all you have to do is get rid of the viruses, because naturally you just download by default.
Right, and it seems like when you try to do something, when you put your effort into it in almost a desperation sort of way, it doesn't ever really seem to work out. Ask
It's the
anyone
paradox.
who's ever made a plan. It's like,
It's saying, I want this, but I don't think I can have it. That's the emotional reaction you're
Right.
giving. And
or at least the effort of trying to claw to get it. It's like that tends to not work out. There's a level of no resistance that
Yes.
you have to approach things with.
trying
in
to do
order
it,
to-
that's why I don't believe the
like,
word trying.
visualizing in your
Trying to
mind.
do anything will make you fail.
Well,
You cannot try. You have to know what you're going to do and set out to do it.
right.
If you fail, you fail, but that's what you're going to do.
And-
If you try to do it, I'd say 99% of the time you will fail, because you're trying. You don't understand what you're doing.
Right. You
You're
don't
just
understand
trying.
what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a nice car, but I don't really understand what comes along with that, the taxes, anything else. Like, I made up just enough money for the car and I can't cover anything else, not even insurance.
Yeah.
Because you don't understand it, like the bigger picture.
And that's why I tried to walk it back a little bit when I started saying this. It was that, through visualization and through certain methods, you can actually kind of try.
But real quick,
It's more it's more the effort. It's more
but
about
real quick, the reason for that is when you do try and then you get it. Those people who get it usually collapse. And the reason is because it's, I'm going for this, I'm going for that. Yeah, you might be getting it, but you're not understanding everything else involved. And as a result, usually those people go bankrupt, or they don't have the other facilities that allow them to create the good partnerships with people to maintain their lifestyles.
Right.
You know, to have these people on their side. Next thing you know, it's like you're a jerk just being like, look at what I have, look what I have. And then somebody's in the back of their head says, yeah, I think I'm going to take what you have. I already have more, but I just don't like the way you do it, you know? And you don't have a good grasp on your business, so I'm going to come out with a product that's cheaper and better.
Yeah.
And now you collapse. And it's like, yeah, you made it happen, but you did it almost to prove that you could. All right, you proved that you could. Now what? You have nothing going.
Right.
And now it's falling between your fingers because there's nothing to hold it up.
Yeah.
And it's same with personal character, you know? It can't just be you tell yourself certain things. You have to genuinely rebuild yourself with pillars to become good people. And and that's why you see in business the most successful people that are on camera. You know, it's not just that they have a good business model, but when you listen to them speak, it's like these people have a pretty good understanding of their communities, where they came from. It's like they're well-rounded.
What their value is.
And that's why this guy's worth $10 million and not $500 million.
Right.
Because he's happy. He's doing what he can. And there's not a part of him that needs to prove to himself, because he already understands. I could be a billionaire if I wanted to. But
you'd have to screw people over. You'd have to sell people things that they didn't actually need and lie to their face.
And all of those things will come back onto you.
Yeah.
And hello? And all of those things will come back onto you. And eventually, it's like you're digging a hole, and you just keep digging. You're like, finally, I got to the treasure chest. But now you don't know how to get out. And it's even taller because all the dirt you were digging out is around the rim. So while you dug deeper, it went higher, and now it's starting to rain. Why? Because you didn't even figure out a good day to do it. You're desperate. You know, it's like, I just have to do this. There's no timing. There's no quality. There's nothing, and that's why it's like, yeah, you can try to get somewhere and get there. But the problem is what's the purpose? What's the point? How are you going to maintain it? Is it for a reason that builds character, or are you just trying to show yourself, hey, even with no character, I can have this. I proved it to myself. Now with my lack of character, how do I maintain this? Because now suddenly people accepted that I was just a jerk when I was poor, but when I'm rich and I'm a jerk, suddenly it has a different meaning. Yeah. Suddenly people I start to become ostracized. It's like there is levels to this stuff, and how you obtain stuff. I'd hate to say there's an etiquette, but it's like, there's wolves out there. If you don't do it right, the wolves go after you. If you do it right, the wolves are like, we're afraid. We understand if we come at you, you did things right. You might be able to come back at us. Yeah. So we don't want to touch you. But this guy, he's walking around with a bloody leg, limping, and he's just staring at the sky. Like, we can get him, and he won't even know what happened. Yeah. But this guy, he will know everything. So go after the guy who just made it because he wanted to try.
That's a good point too. Is that the laws of nature and how animals and the ecosystem behaves? It's like they're all conscious, but
they all work together.
There is a knowing outside of the existence that seems to be very present in nature, and it's something that you can observe and realize outside of our human lives that are all individual, and we've made languages to explain how we feel about that, but in reality these are just abstract thoughts going through every conscious brain.
Layers like layers in different dimensions. Like our dimension itself has layers that all have to work together for us to be
yeah, you guys can't hear what he had to say because he is going to the bathroom. But I'd like to take this time to suggest that you give the video a follow and the channel a like. If you like this discussion, check out some of our other videos. And we want your support. We have the chat pulled up when we do the show live. We do it every Wednesday, usually around, about 9 o'clock Central Time. But if you are watching this in post, leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think. Because, we want these discussions to at least, or I'll say that we'd like enough of a following to where when we're doing an episode, we can actually respond to, maybe we missed something, maybe someone has something to add, and it kind of evolves from there. We've kind of been focusing on episodes of deep topics that we find interesting, and we hope other people do too. But we would love for you guys to join us. Thank you for watching. If you are, I think Alex is coming back now. But to kind of close off this discussion, I'd like to kind of go into an inquisitory type of thought process. So we've set up enough examples that would point to a universal consciousness. Understanding what that really is kind of can be up to interpretation. The idea of God or some kind of knowing presence outside of our own, some other consciousness that all information is kind of tied to. That's where my mind kind of goes. But as far as for people watching this, what would you say is a good way to tap into that, or how is that achieved? Not that we know all the answers. It's all kind of abstract anyway. But like, what is that? How does anyone get there? What do you think about that? And I've got thoughts on it too, but
what I think it comes down to is questions. It's passion, it's energy, it's your mind, it's thoughts. It all just simply has to come down to one thing, a focused point. And that focused point should be, to you, the most important point. Something that your mind, your passion prioritize. I would say almost 100% of the time, that's going to give you 99.9.
Yeah.
It'll give you a reaction. And what that is asking simply, it's boiling everything down. Like the reality, who you are. You get down to the very basics. I think a lot of the problems is people try to take what they know and weigh it on what they hear. But what you should do,
take what you know and question what you hear.
In my opinion, if you know inherently, like, there could be something more, or you're curious, like, if there's something more, if there is, I keep hearing there is, then I want to know. Then you just simply have to care. You just got to say, I can understand that this reality is crazy, and I don't know what this is. For all I know, we're controlled by aliens, and we have been for 10,000 years. I don't know. For all I know, God literally made this planet in a week and manifested, and things were. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I can't, if I want to understand, I can't weigh any of my experiences or my understandings with that truth. I have to just seek that truth and let that truth reveal itself. It's like you said, there is a point of zero, what'd you call it? Zero. Basically, where there's no friction, where you just let go.
Oh, no resistance.
Thank you. No resistance. So there is a point of no resistance where that's kind of what that is you have to say, this is what I want to know, and I'm not going to give resistance to figuring out. As it reveals itself, I'm going to weigh what I know on what's given and not say, well, I know this, so that can't be true. You have to stop and go, if that's true, is what I know true? if something presents itself to you, and it's whether you like it or not, if you're seeking truth, the things that present themselves, you don't just accept them, but you can take what you know and be like, how does this weigh on that? And if it's true, whatever you weigh on it is going to fall off the scale. It's going to be like, all right, whatever I was going to use to defeat this, I'm now using this to weigh against that, and it doesn't weigh. This is heavier. This is way heavier. And then you accept that. And once you accept that, it's done. It starts to change everything else. You get a little piece of truth in you, that's it. You just have to have something true in you that you know is true, that you believe. Something that you know deep down that if other people said, well, that's not true in my case, it is. The case you're talking about is a situation you've created that you could change. Regardless of whether you change it or not, what I'm saying holds true. It does not, It does not shift. This is how you would be if you weren't doing this stuff. Well, I'm doing that stuff because of this. Those are excuses. That does not go against what I said.
That's not universal.
Yes. What I said is if you stop that stuff, this would be a universal truth. And you said, well, I do this stuff because of this stuff. All right. Just trace that back as far as it goes until you can get rid of that excuse and come to the conclusion that this is the truth.
Yeah. I mean, I really like what you said about that because I think it does come with a level of self-awareness. And also, I mean, the other thing that you really said that holds true to me is an inquisitive nature. You need to be curious about you need to be curious about what life is, why you're here. Like we were saying earlier, a lot of people kind of checked out of the spirituality box when we started figuring out gravity and all these things that are all these scientific explanations for phenomenons that people before would kind of seem, explained as a supernatural effect. Well, now that we're proving that there's still a supernatural element to all this, you need to be someone who's curious and willing to not only, push yourself in what you know and understand, but also reshape what you've previously come to believe. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest step. It's a way to open yourself psychologically to what can I be given outside of myself. And I think that's the key. And it could come in the form of someone else speaking to you about something and you resonate with it. But maybe whatever they're speaking about is coming from that universal consciousness. And that allows you to formulate, you find that place or that thought inside yourself based on what they said. Because thoughts are very abstract. There's billions and billions of neurons and connections firing when we have these thoughts. And, we have a language. It's a very primitive way of interpreting and sharing these thoughts. Yet we are able to hear a very primitive sentence from somebody and it touches us somewhere deep inside that it's very abstract and resonates through our entire core. And that is the translation of universal consciousness thought from one individual consciousness to another. And it's not that I could say a simple sentence or a simple few sentences and change your entire life. It's not that I'm doing that. It's that I am leading your mind to some other connection outside of yourself, outside of myself, that would allow you to see that reality and to know that it's true.
And that's where the free will comes in, is my willingness to go along with it. You could lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And the adage is true. You could tell somebody a fact and the lies in their head will make them think you're the crazy one. For my closing, the best way I could say it is we're like we started this, we're all connected. There is kind of a universal truth that binds all of us. And that universal truth is like cool water. When I see it, I just don't want to get in. It doesn't look warm. It's not money. It's not the stuff that would entice me to just jump in.
Yeah.
But it's cool water. And it's refreshing. But it's cool. The thing is, if you just get a foot in and slowly wade in, once you're in it, your body adjusts and you're like, oh, this feels amazing. I could stay in here forever. Now you're in the truth. But if
It's like a muscle. It's like,
if I tell you, hey, I know all the truth in the universe. So all you have to do is jump in. You're going to say, I can't. I can't just jump in. It's cool water. You have to wade in, and you have to be willing to wade in. You know, part of how all of this works is it is all encompassing. So there has to be parts of you that you're willing to give up in order to do this. So if you look and you say, well, I need it now, you need patience. You need to be humble. You need a lot of things to just slowly wade into that water.
yeah, time is
And
an irrelevant fact in the universal
Yeah,
consciousness.
you want that truth to just slowly wash through you and clean out all the other stuff. You can't jump in. And I think that's a big thing a lot of people don't understand it when they try to help others, or even the people who are like, people keep telling me stuff from both sides. You know, it's not something you can force. Free will is a thing. That's why, you know, I recommend if you're somebody out there, you know, who has a grip on how to help lead people to a truer side of themselves, you know, you don't push them. You know, you challenge their own stuff when they show pride and they say, I know this, challenge it. You want to be prideful about what you know? I'll challenge it with truth. And I will just keep doing this until you get to a point where you say, I don't like this person challenging me. I don't like them being wrong. I understand that nothing they're doing is showing me up. I'm kind of showing myself up. How do I stop showing myself up? And that's when they start asking the questions. Well, I need to know truth. Well, how do I know that? Well, I need to slow down a bit. I need to wade into the water. You know, I can't just jump in and think I know it all. I need to wade in the water and just take it in slowly.
Yeah.
You know.
Be like water, my friend.
Yes. Yeah. But seriously,
Yeah.
the truth is not something you can try to be.
Right.
You
And
just have to be like truth.
and that kind of gets to the whole no resistance thing, and kind of just I'll close off a few thoughts and we can end it there. But yeah, and it's like we were saying, you don't need to try for these things. You don't need to like consciously and not effortlessly, but you know, the opposite of that. Effortly. You don't have to put effort into, you know, these things, because the more that you apply in this, you know, in the physical way, the more that it
Strain yourself.
yeah, it's like you're floating in a stream and, you know, you're trying to grab hold of something, but the harder you try to grab and swim towards it, it's getting pushed away.
Well, that's part of the truth. The stream is going somewhere for a reason.
Right, just relax.
So you need to relax, let
flow.
it take you. Like,
It'll flow to you.
the truth is that the water is as it is and it goes.
Yeah.
And when you can let yourself go to that, it kind of takes over. That's how truth is. You know, it's like you can look at truth and try to argue with it and swim upstream, but your best case scenario is you get yourself back to where you were through mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if you go down that stream, you'll learn a lot about yourself and you'll evolve into a better person who's like capable of more than just reaction.
Yeah. And, you know, for all you out there, just to kind of give you something to feel this with, you know, out in your own lives, just no matter where you are in your life situation, no matter how much you know, just understand that you have. Are you doing the dogs?
No, you're good.
I was about to say they're annoying me. Yeah. So for all you out there,
I did not see her walk back downstairs.
I mean,
I was like, I guess I gotta close it off. You were sneaky for that one.
okay. All right. I kind of lost.
It's right there. I don't know how I didn't.
Okay. So I guess my prescription advice for anybody out there,
20 milligrams.
try to 20 milligrams of
Truth.
just know that whatever the universal consciousness is, you can tap into it no matter what your level is. You kind of have to believe that you can. And as we were saying earlier, you have to have the inquisitive nature to question and to go further in your understanding of your reality, because a lot of people fall victim into getting stuck in believing like a status quo or the way things are, or there's nothing that exists outside of this, and that kind of thinking is going to cut you off from the power, from connecting with the higher power. You may see glimpses of it when you go to an orchestra or you look at a piece of art. You could see that. But if you want to truly be connected to the universal consciousness, you need to have no resistance. You need to surrender yourself and everything that you know, and realize that while you are trying to inquisitively expand your understanding, you also have it inside of you at all times, and you've always had it, and you always will have it. So tapping into it is your key. It's not trying to achieve or do or use this power for anything. If you want true enlightenment and you want true understanding of the world, you really have to let go of everything that you know about the world and just see everything as what is fundamentally true about my life, about the things that I interact with. You have to be open to the thoughts that might come into your head that inspire you to go further, to go this way home versus that way home. And the more that you do that, like you were saying, it's a muscle. It's something that you dip your toes into, and it might be hard at first, or it might be fleeting, but
once you're in that water and you get used to that water, suddenly that reaction isn't so weird. You're like, I'm already used to water. I'm gonna jump right into that.
And it's
I'm not
easier.
afraid to go that way. I don't feel uncomfortable going that way or questioning that way, because it's like I just know.
Yeah,
It feels right.
If you spend 1% of your day connected to the universal consciousness and to everything, to God, to your fellow man, to everything ever, always, then the next day you might feel 1.5%. And the next day you might feel 2%.
But it's 3%. Like, would you rather have $1 million now or a penny and it doubles every day for the rest of your life?
Exactly.
It's like...
Exactly.
It's like before you know it, you are wealthy. You got that penny and a half plus, but you also have everything else that's enriched you to make you say, I can be happy with this penny, knowing it can be more. I can be happy with 2 pennies, knowing it can be more. You're building that character along with it instead of just being like, I am who I am. And now I have $1 million. You've allowed yourself to adjust with what you have. Everything should be even.
Yeah. And it's not about the $1 million. It never is. If you follow that train back, it's always something else. It's you want to be loved, you want to be accepted, you want to leave something great, you want to, have an impact, you want to, genetically reproduce. All of these things that we want money for, and we want, this and that, all these superficial things that we want. Follow the route to it, and you'll realize that it's really not. It's not about the money. There's so many other things, and actually most, if not any of them, require money at all. And even the people that have the money don't necessarily feel that way. So
it's like going back to the truth. Most of the stuff we want is just to escape our own lies. What it comes down to is the true passion, the true things we want and need are the betterment of ourselves, where you can sit there and feel rich, as you are,
Yeah.
instead of being rich and feeling poor. You know, it's like there's certain priorities. And if you want money in life, work on yourself first. If you don't want money, work on yourself anyway.
Yeah. Well said, man. Anyway,
So we're going to do like we're gonna work on one, but we'll keep it simple. Can we get a sound effect for that one? We're gonna work on that, guys.
Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us. Catch us every Wednesday live. Like and follow the channel, Meta Perspective.
Until next time, Meta Perspective out.
Sorry.
Meta Perspective Podcast.